Family, trust you good wherever you are when you're experiencing the Lord's favor in your life. As we continue with our biblical discourse, we are going to look at Genesis chapter 26. So some of the nuggets that I got from this chapter as I was going through it. One, following God's instruction to the latter. What do I mean? When you start reading the chapter, we are told that there's a famine in the area, and God tells Isaac to stay in Gerar. Imagine with me, had he stayed next to Gerar, or he decided to stay in the next province, not following God's instruction to stay in Gerar, would he have reaped the 100-fold? As we continue reading, remember there was a famine. He planted in Gerar, and then he reaped 100-fold the very same year when there was a famine. So I started asking myself that question: am I following God's instructions to the letter? Because if I am, then I can expect to reap 100-fold since I'm following His instruction. That's the first thing that I saw. The other thing that tickled me was, where am I? Because He tells him, be in Gerar. So am I in a place where God has geographically placed me, or where God expects me to be in the season where He expects me to be? I started thinking along those lines. Is it possible that the career that I'm pursuing, is it God's ultimate plan or the bigger picture? Am I following that blueprint, God's blueprint? Where am I? So as I started looking at that, so as we continue with our biblical discourse, so let us read verse 8 to 10. It reads as follows: When Isaac had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked down from a window and saw Isaac caress his wife. So Abimelech summoned Isaac and said, "She is your wife. Why did you say she's my sister? She's your sister." And then Isaac answered, "Because I thought I might lose my life on account to her." So now, what had happened was they had seen Rebecca, Isaac's wife, Abimelech and his soldiers. So Isaac lied and he said, "No, she is my sister." So now they were interested in her. Maybe they were checking her out. So maybe that's why when Isaac looked out of Abimelech looked out of the window, saw him caressing her, and they're like, "Hey man, this is more than brother and sister relationship." So now, look at how one sin moves from one generation to the next generation. Because this is the very same thing that happened with Abraham and Sarah when Abimelech confronted them. "Are you guys husband and wife?" He lied also. Now the very same thing happens with Isaac, their son. So now, that's another thing that I saw, like the challenges that I fail to conquer, the Delilah that I fail to conquer, there's a tendency of it appearing in the next generation to test my son. If I were to give an example, if I have a horrible financial disposition, if I do not know how to handle my finances, chances are it will resurface on my son or the next generation. Up until I conquer my challenges or my Delilah, chances are it might resurface on the next generation as we continue. So that's that. But now I'm more interested in the answer that he gives. He says, "I thought," when we look at verse 10, he says, "Because I thought I might lose my life on account because of her." So now, family, most of our problems emanate right here. Our thoughts. You find that had he told the truth, he might not have, he might have not lost his life, because as we see, they did not do anything to him. So most of our problems are in our minds. So what we think about, how we think about situations ultimately determines how we handle those situations. That's one of the things that I learned, that I should not overthink. Do not sweat the small stuff. Do not overthink situations. Sometimes we get ourselves into trouble because of overthinking or the way we think. So as you continue with the story, Verse 12. Isaac planted in the land, and the same year he reaped 100-fold. To a point whereby the Philistines, they started saying, "Get away from us, you are too powerful for us." I believe this is our story, family, that we should be reaping 100-folds wherever we plant. When you continue the story, we should be reaping 100-fold, whatever we plant. To a point, the worldly or the unsaved people who are not of the kingdom, they say, "Get away from us, you are too powerful for us," if we are following God's blueprint.